Welcome to our TST Dialogues, and today we are going to be talking about tax justice. And I'm joined with Thulani. Thulani, welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on your show.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Thulani Shongwe. I represent the African Tax Administration Forum. It's called ATAF in brief. Just a bit of background, we have a membership of 38 African countries, and we work to do research, technical assistance, policy advice, and regulation and legislation advice for member countries in the field of taxation and tax administration.
Okay.
Yes.
It sounds awesome. Basing on the presentation that you have on digital economy, maybe I would like to ask you the effectiveness of tax collection in the digital economy in Africa.
Thank you for that question. I think more broadly, we need to first look at the challenges that African countries have had in plugging the holes that have been created from just generally trying to collect taxes. So my organization has been working over the past 10 years to close those holes and loopholes in legislation while developing capacity. So from a general tax collection point of view, we've seen that tax to GDP is rising on the continent. The average in ATAF countries is 18%, but it's still below OECD countries, which is around 25%. And then there are some countries that still have a low tax to GDP ratio and over-reliance on one type of tax type, or on oil revenues or commodities, for example. So that brings us to understanding the challenges that we would potentially face in collecting taxes from digital supplies. One way, and some of our member countries have explored this, is using a consumption tax, like a value-added tax on digital supplies. This could be on online purchases of goods or services. And generally, because this is a new type of tax that's been introduced, it's taking time to see the real effects of it and the potential hiccups or bottlenecks that may arise. Yes.
Oh, okay. You said you're working with a number of African countries, so maybe if you could just give us the milestones that I know if you mention all of them. I know there's something that is happening all of them, but maybe just the significant progress that some of our countries in Africa have made in terms of collecting tax in the digital economy.
All right. So, for example, South Africa has developed some capability in collecting VAT of the digital supplies. But suffice to say that a lot of the taxation of the digital economy is an ongoing conversation, and it's an ongoing global conversation currently. So there's still mechanics that countries are putting into place to voice their concerns on how best to tax the digital economy. So we don't want to narrow it down to just consumption taxes, but we also want to have a look at how we approach highly digitalized businesses and generally how we approach the taxing of the digital economy from a broader point of view, not just on the purchase of goods and services online.
Okay. So you said for the past 10 years you have been working towards the process of tax collection in the digital economy. In those years, what have been the major challenges that your organization has been facing, and also what are the milestones that you guys have actually achieved in these 10 years?
All right, so in the 10 years, we haven't only been working on digital economy, we've been working on other elements, such as transfer pricing, exchange of information, building capacity in value-added tax collection, in some of the trade taxes as well. Some major milestones that ATAF has achieved is we've put out a publication that's called the African Tax Outlook. It's a collection of data and some of the tax types and tax performances that our member countries are experiencing. That gives a good policy read for policymakers to know which taxes perform in their countries and which don't. We've also established a technical assistance unit, which is a group of experts who go into countries and work with policymakers and tax administrators in reviewing legislation, in reviewing regulations and providing advice on how best you can tax some of these complex areas. We have had successes in revenue collected. We've achieved a revenue bound of over $3 million in collection. And we've helped our member countries raise assessments well over $500 million. This is particularly in transfer pricing. We've also got capacity building where we train auditors, we train inspectors of taxes. We go into the countries and bring members together, and then we share the experiences from one country to the other so that there's a broader learning category. So those are some of the high-level achievements. Lastly, I would say that we've also been working on setting the standard for African countries in the global tax arena. So we do a lot of work with the United Nations and with the OECD, and we've achieved relative successes in voicing African concerns around complex cross-border transactions, and those have been accepted by these global bodies such as the OECD and the UN.
Thulani, you've only mentioned about the milestone. Our audience would also want to know about the challenges that you have been facing in this course.
Well, one of the challenges, of course, is that Africa is not on its own in the global economy. We are part of the global ecosystem. We see a large amount of multinationals coming into our countries for foreign direct investment and so forth. So there are complicated cross-border transactions that have arisen. So we find it very challenging to tax these complicated cross-border arrangements, and that's why we've allocated a large number of resources to developing transfer pricing expertise on the continent. The second challenge that I think we're faced with as a continent is how best do we respond to the challenges of taxing the digital economy. Increasingly, our countries are moving towards accommodating more digital companies, highly digitalized companies like the Airbnbs of this world and Uber of this world. And those companies present a challenge not only to African countries, but to developed countries as well. And we're currently debating with the rest of the world on what are the best ways to tax these types of companies and the types of transactions they bring. We are meeting in a week's time with our technical committee made up of 10 countries to discuss proponents that we can put together that best suit the African experience and African economies, and then we'll take it from there. But in terms of the challenges, I would say that there are a number of challenges from a capacity point of view, from resourcing, from financing, but we don't want to only look at the multitude of negativity. We want to also look at the positives that the continent has achieved.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much, Thulani. And you have heard it for yourselves about the issues that are going on in terms of tax collection in our African region. Guys, if you have any feedback or inquiries that you have, feel free to email me at sharon@southerntimesafrica.com. Follow us on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, like and share our Facebook page. And thank you so much for watching.